regarding housekeeping items. So a couple of housekeeping items here. The webinar is being recorded and will be available for replay. For those who are not familiar with the webinar interface, you can see a webinar interface with the grab tab on the right side. You can click the arrow to open and close control of the panel. You can click square to toggle your window between full screen and window mode. On the audio pane, you can select which audio format works best for you, either audio or microphone and speakers. And we welcome you to submit questions throughout the event today. We'll be addressing those questions at the end during the Q&A session. Next slide, please. Another important aspect and frequently asked questions include the fact that, yes, the webinar deck will be available for replay and available for download. And so this event is recorded today. So without further ado, I would like to present the agenda. Next slide, please. I'm going to take control here. Sorry about that. Actually, I can't. Amanda, can you present us the slide deck, please?
It's got a really weird delay going on right now. I've just changed you to the presenter to see if we can get it.
Yeah, it's fine. We can wait. So again, we have today two distinguished speakers. The agenda for today, we will first hear Cynthia Garza, who is the senior analyst for Latin America for Maravision Rethink. She will be providing the key findings of her latest report on 4G, providing an overview of the regulatory situation, the challenges and drivers for 4G in the Latin American context, and present a case study of one leading LTE operator. And then, of course, we're fortunate to have Luis Omar Rivera, who's Network Engineering Director for Open Mobile in Puerto Rico, who will be providing actually first-hand experience of a mobile operator transitioning to LTE in the Latin American context. As I indicated earlier, we'll be addressing your questions towards the end of the event, and we encourage you to submit your questions throughout the webinar. Before we jump to the actual presentations, I would like to better understand the profile of the audience today, and I would like to ask the audience to please tell us which part of the ecosystem they belong to. And so we would like to know, whether you're representing a carrier, an equipment vendor, a regulator, analyst, press, or you're a distributor integrator. There may be other categories out there that we haven't not able to capture because of the limitations of the tool here, but at least gives us a good idea of who the audience is, and we'll try to tailor the content to you guys folks. So I see today we have a majority of equipment vendors, in fact 50%. It seems that there is a lot of interest out there amongst the technology vendors to understand I guess the opportunities that are in the Latin American market. There's also a great deal of analysts and press who seem to be also keen on understanding the some of the key performance indicators in the region, as well as some maybe success stories and examples. We do have a number of carriers that are attending today. We welcome them as well, and maybe they can share their experience and questions that are more relevant in the context of a carrier and migration path from 3G or from WiMAX towards LTE. Then we have a representatives of among distributors and integrators as well as regulators. So let's close the first poll here, and I'd like to also understand where the audience is calling from in terms of their geographical distribution. Please take a few seconds here to answer whether you were, which part of the Latin America or outside of Latin America you're calling from. Please take a few seconds here to answer. So we're still getting responses coming in, so I'll wait a few more seconds. Okay, I think we can close the poll now and share the results. So we have, let's see here, we have 12% of the audience calling up from the southern cone, and that's basically Argentina, Uruguay, maybe also Chile. Then another 10% calling from the Andean region, which is Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador. A 20% calling from the Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean, 2% from Brazil, and actually 55% from others, which is interesting to know that there's a lot of interest on Latin America from an audience that's from outside the region. So that's quite interesting that Latin American region is generating a lot of interest here. So without further ado, I would like to pass on to Cynthia Garza, who's the Latin American analyst from Harvard Swiss Inc., and will provide us with some of the key findings from our latest research on 4G. So Cynthia, I'll make you the presenter.
And no, Alan, Amanda's gonna keep the slides. Well, it is my name is Cynthia Garza, and it is my pleasure to present the results of our latest report, 4G Latin America Analysis and Forecast for 2012 to 2017. I would like to tell everyone that this report is a result of 3 months of research. And in this research, we interview operators in Latin America that are either planning to or that have commercially launched LTE, and also we interview several regulatory bodies to understand the spectrum regulation in the region. So next slide, please. The agenda for today will be the following. First of all, we will present the key findings of the report. We will also have some discussion about the major issues around the spectrum policy in Latin America. And then we will take a look at the major challenges that operators are facing today to deploy LTE. And at the end, I will give you an example of an LTE business case by analyzing one operator in Latin America that has commercially deployed. The key findings of the report in three fundamentally. The first key finding has to be with the market drivers. These are the factors that will cause a new market or product to develop. And we have found that in the main market driver for LTE in Latin America are going to be the applications and the introduction of devices that support these applications. In particular, the availability of 4G smartphones and tablets at affordable price points will be the ultimate factor for LTE uptake. There are other key market drivers related, such as demand, the introduction of voice over LTE, and the allocation of the spectrum, which is also highly important to make these deployments possible. The second key finding has to be with the challenges that operators are facing today. And our findings reveal that demand in Latin America for mobile broadband is increasing, and it becomes a challenge for operators to satisfy these increasing demands. and addressing the mobile traffic explosion while not increasing the cost per bit delivered. In Latin America, it is particularly true that most markets are characterized by low ARPU and a very high prepaid subscriber base. Therefore, it represents a challenge for operators to monetize their networks. And another challenge in some countries is also a spectrum, which is not yet allocated for 4G. So therefore, a spectrum could be both a driver and a challenge depending on the market we are talking about. And finally, the third key finding has to be with the forecasts. We have provided some interesting forecasts for subscribers, dual mode devices, base stations, and CapEx. And our findings reveal that by 2017, we will have approximately a 20 times increase in the number of 4G subscribers, and the accumulated CapEx will be around 13 billion. According to interviews that we conducted with several operators, LTE operators in Latin America, the average LTE CapEx in the initial stage or the first year of deployment for a small medium operator is going to be between $100 and $200 million. So having said that, I would like to move to my next slide where I would like to discuss about the regulatory scenario in Latin America. To understand the regulatory climate in the region, we have analyzed what we consider the top 5 economies in Latin America, which include Mexico, Colombia, Chile, Argentina, and Brazil. Why these are the top economies? These economies represent 80% of the telecom sector revenues and 72% of the total mobile subscribers in the region. This year we have seen an amazing progress in the spectrum allocation in Latin America, with spectrum auctions occurring in Brazil and Chile in the first half of this year, where both countries allocated a 2.6 GHz band. And there is another very important auction scheduled for September this year in Colombia, where the regulator is also planning to allocate the remaining 2.6 GHz band for LTE deployments. So this has been a very interesting and important year for a lot of the markets in Latin America for a spectrum allocation. We have found that there are primarily 5 frequency bands identified for 4G in the region, which are the ones that you can see in the circles. And the size of the circles indicates the extension in which these bands have been already allocated. As we can see, the most widely allocated spectrum in Latin America is a 3.5 GHz band, with approximately 90 license holders or something like that, representing a large amount of license allocated. And this band is used primarily for fixed WiMAX or for fixed wireless access. But also this band is being considered for TD-LTE deployment. However, we believe that TD-LTE will not happen in this band in Latin America until at least 3 to 4 more years, when devices are more widely available, and that there are economies of scale in these devices. At present, there are very few devices in this band, and Latin American operators are waiting for the availability of more of these devices. Then we have the 2.6 GHz band, and also the 1.7 paired with 2.1 GHz band, which also have been very widely allocated in the region. And therefore, these are the most common bands for LTE deployment, since these bands have very good propagation characteristics to support mobility. The major concern in some countries, such as Mexico and Argentina, is that mobility in the 2.6 GHz band is restricted, and the band remains allocated for other services, such as MMDS services. Finally, we have what we call the digital spectrum or digital dividend, which includes the 700 MHz band and the 450 MHz band. The 700 will be also used for LTE deployment. However, this band has not yet been very allocated in the region, mainly because in some countries such as Mexico, Brazil, and Colombia, the band is being used for analog TV, and regulators are in the process of releasing this band for 4G deployment. And the 450 MHz has only been allocated in Brazil for 4G, and its allocations elsewhere in the region remains on hold. So we can see that spectrum will play a major role as a market driver for LTE deployment in the region. However, operators are facing several challenges, and I would like to, now moving to my next slide here, I would like to talk about some of the major challenges that operators are facing. First of all, we see that in Latin America there are two dominant mobile carriers, Telefónica and América Móvil, which represent 70% of the mobile subscribers in the region. And these carriers, although their power and economic resources have a very conservative attitude yet towards 4G, while we see that greenfield operators or small medium operators which do not have the resources that these two large operators have are the ones that are driving the LTE deployment today. From interviews also that we have conducted with operators, we found that one of the main challenges for them is monetizing their networks and making profits in low ARPU mobile markets. We have found that mobile ARPU in Latin America is less than $12, which is very low compared to the ARPU generated in, for example, in the United States, which is 4 times higher. And so we also found that Latin America has a very low postpaid subscriber base. Only 20% of the mobile subscribers are contract or postpaid, and a very high prepaid subscriber base, which represents around 80% of the mobile subscribers today in Latin America. This contrast between postpaid and prepaid is mainly because the majority of the population does not have access to credit cards. Therefore, it results difficult for the end user to sign a contract. Instead, the end user buys a prepaid card, like the one we see here in the slide, and in most instances, we have found that in Latin America, the prepaid user can enjoy the benefit of receiving unlimited calls and text messages, even if not if not having any credit available in their prepaid plan. And this encourages the end user to do not pay for the service at all, while still staying communicated. We have found that prepaid users represent a big percentage of the revenues for mobile operators in Latin America. However, the major concern for LTE operators is that the prepaid subscriber, by not signing a contract, can easily migrate to another service provider. In Latin America, the end user is very sensitive to even a small increase in the price of the service. Another challenge for the LTE operator is that the prepaid user has to pay the full cost of the device, which also affects the extent in which new devices such as smartphones and tablets will gain penetration. If the operator is not able to subsidize the device price for the majority of the population, these devices will result unaffordable. And finally, we have the role that the over-the-top service providers, also known as OTT providers, are playing by affecting the revenues of operators. The over-the-top service providers include Google, Skype, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. And with the use of smartphones, the access to OTT services has increased, causing a tremendous explosion in the mobile data traffic. And this is representing a higher cost of operation for the operator. On the other hand, some services such as the ones offered by WhatsApp, by Skype, and Viber are affecting considerably the income from traditional voice and instant messaging services offered via 2G and 3G. So here, in summary, what we can see from this slide is the main challenge for operators is monetizing their networks. Now, moving to my next slide, I would like to briefly present the business case of Une Telecomunicaciones Colombia, which is a LTE operator that has commercially deployed. For those that are not familiar with Une is the #1 provider in Colombia of fixed broadband internet. and number 2nd in TV by subscription. So what is UNE doing with 4G? UNE provides an interesting business case for LTE because it is an operator that has provided fixed broadband connectivity through various technologies such as DSL, WiMAX, fiber optic, and now has decided to also add LTE to its service offering. The main reason why UNE has chosen to deploy LTE is because they want to add mobility. UNE has access to 2 frequency bands, 3.5, and in which UNE deploys WiMAX, and the 2.6 GHz band in which UNE now is deploying LTE. In addition to mobility, UNE's goal with LTE is to offer also voice over LTE. So one question that arises in a business case like this is how a fixed operator will deploy voice over LTE or offer mobility if it does not have any 2G or 3G legacy infrastructure in place. Well, the LTE network that UNE is deploying is completely built from scratch on both the radio access network and the core side. However, UNE will leverage passive infrastructure such as towers and antennas from other mobile operators in Colombia such as Tigo, Movistar, and Comcel for the provision of voice and some mobility. This might be an approach that other small and fixed operators in the region are going to follow if they want to deploy LTE or and support voice at the same time. And this approach is going to save operators considerable amount of time and money in the deployment. So here we developed a SWOT analysis for UNE. So one of the strengths for UNE is that since it is the main fixed internet provider in Colombia, UNE enjoys the advantage of becoming #1 fixed LTE provider for the residential and business segment. However, UNE's goal to include mobility or voice over LTE in the service offering, I would say it's a weakness given that the operator does not have, as I said, 3G infrastructure in place. And it could be a weakness, especially if the operator wants to support voice over LTE. At present, UNE has introduced only USB dongles in service offering, and if it wants to remain competitive, it will also have to include the smartphones, which are currently being on trial. Some of the opportunities for this operator is that it can become the first and even the sole, and probably the sole provider of LTE to solve. And also, since UNE is the 2nd largest provider of TV by subscription in Colombia, there is an opportunity for UNE to offer TV over LTE. The main challenges is that the Colombian market, as in any other market in Latin America, is characterized by low ARPU, around $12, and a high prepaid subscriber base, and this will make it difficult to finance the network for any operator. UNE also will face the competition from mobile players such as Comcel, Tigo, and Movistar, which are planning to acquire 2.6 GHz spectrum in the upcoming 4G auction. So these mobile operators are planning to introduce LTE smartphones in their service offering. So in conclusion to UNE's case, in our view, this deployment will not be as large as the deployments expected from mobile players in the country. However, bringing a new access technology to its current convergent offering and improving the service speed and the quality of service will definitely help UNE to maintain and continue growing its subscriber base. Also, if UNE wants to become a competitive LTE operator in the mobile space, the introduction of the smartphones will be a key market driver to reach this objective. So so with this, I conclude my participation. For any information, additional questions you have about this research or report, you can contact us or send us an email. And I will guess, and now I will turn back to Adnan. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia, for this interesting highlights of the report. Before we jump into the next presenter, I would like to push our next poll here and get the audience to share with us their opinion about what are the main challenges for LTE adoption in Latin America. And so please take a few seconds here to respond, which are the the most acute challenges you see this region facing, and I will give the opportunity to comment on those results. We're still getting response coming in, so I'll wait a few more seconds. And I will now close the poll and share the results. So this is the multiple answer poll, so maybe more than one challenge foreseen in the region. But evidently defining the proper business model in this low ARPU, high prepaid environment is overwhelmingly the most challenging aspect of deploying successfully LTE. So that means that there's a lot of work for consultants out there to help operators figure out a way to make those CapEx and spectrum acquisitions affordable in the long run. The second aspect is, of course, availability of affordable 4G devices. And I really would like to have our panelists here comment on the results here. Luis, what's your take here on those results? Are they in line with what you see in your own situation?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I think it's you will see in my presentation what is our actual business model, which actually aligns with the demographics here in Puerto Rico. But definitely, yeah, I agree. And also in the availability of more spectrum, also I think it's very quite challenge for all the operators. So. Okay.
What about you, Cynthia? Do you in your research and interviews with operators and carriers, can you did you get the same feeling here in terms of the challenges?
Yes, of course. I mean, the main concern for operators right now is to define a business model to deploy a successful LTE network, but leading with a challenge of a low ARPU and high prepaid subscriber base, as I discussed in the presentation. So this is by far the main concern of LTE operators in the region.
Okay. Excellent.
Maybe to add to that, Alan, actually it goes in line what Cynthia was talking about, the over-the-top. So over-the-top services, that is all LTE is not only for quite quicker websites surfing more rapidly, but it needs to be applications over the top. So obviously the network can be monetized.
Obviously, yes. Well, that's, I guess, a good transition towards your presentation, Luis. And what I'm going to do is hide the poll here. And Amanda, if you can make Luis the presenter, appreciate it. Good. Go ahead, Luis.
Hello, I'm here. Seems that something.
Yeah, we can see your slide.
Goes out. Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Luis Omar Rivera. Actually, I'm the director of network engineering in Puerto Rico, in Open Mobile from Puerto Rico. Basically, I've been in the industry for about 15 years, all of them here in Puerto Rico, different mobile operators. And I've been here in Open Mobile since the launch of the company. And to give you some quite highlights on who is Puerto Rico, basically we are a 100 by 35 mile island where we have beautiful beaches, we have a lot of artists, sport players, and actually 5 Miss Universe. For those, I think we are next to Venezuelans, so just in case there are Venezuelans in the line. We have about 4 million in population. Actually, we have a very high density in a very high mobile penetration, and very high internet usage that have been increasing a lot with all the mobile operators within the last two years. We are a U.S. Commonwealth, so we are basically the same rules as the FCC, so we are ruled by the FCC. And the biggest challenge that we have, Open Mobile have, is actually we have 5 wireless operators as competitors, and actually we call the 5 big guys because we have AT&T, we have American Mobile, Claro, we have T-Mobile, and Sprint. So basically we are right now 4th in that challenge. So we are a local operator in Puerto Rico. We just launched in June 2007. We used to be Movistar. Basically, we changed, we revamped the company, and we changed from a postpaid to a prepaid, and actually we call paid in advance model, where basically is an all-you-can-eat company where you paid in advance the services that you want. And I would think I will be a little bit in deep on that later in the presentation. We launched 3G alternative for the network here in Puerto Rico. We launched in 2010, which basically I think I will be talking a little bit about that. I think we came a little bit late to the needs of the customer, and that's why I will explain a little bit in front. We have basically 3 bands that we have licenses in the 1900, which is actually we're running the voice and the video 3G right now. We have AWS spectrum, and also we have 700 megahertz spectrum where we are launching LTE. We have a very high smartphone penetration and data usage here in the island, which basically lead us in order to go to LTE because the usage was very high in the video and in the 3G side, and the customer was needing more and more bandwidth because of all new applications like are very bandwidth demanding in terms of like YouTube, like Facebook, and Netflix. So that is getting a lot of bandwidth, and people are needing more and more and less latency. So that's why LTE is a perfect technology for that. We are the first independent carrier here in the Latin American region to launch LTE. The first one in Puerto Rico that launched LTE was AT&T. Next are us, and we think that at the very beginning of the next year, all the carriers in Puerto Rico market will have LTE. So that's why a big challenge for us. Our average user normally in our network is like 2,000 minutes a month per user, and the data usage is quite high as well. So we're around averaging like 3 gigabytes a month per user, and now in LTE we're seeing that it's getting a little bit high, like 6 gigabytes per user per month, because obviously it's getting more bandwidth, and so are getting more applications, and the usage is higher. So basically our LTE deployment challenges, looking at the more technical side, I think the biggest challenge, and actually you said in the poll, is one of the availabilities of terminals that are around the ecosystem. Actually, we are band 13, which is an advantage because it's the same band as Verizon have in the US. So that gives us a lot of scales economies in order to purchase, which is already delivered. So that was a very high important advantage that we have with the band 13. The backhaul bandwidth, that is very important. We have seen that basically what you get in the cell side as a backhaul is what you get in the user as an experience. And actually any hitch and every problem in the backhaul side, you will have it as the customer as a bad experience. So that's a very important to take into consideration. Other thing that we need to take into consideration is the OPEX. So if you don't own your own microwave network or fiber network, so you have to lease lines, you have to increase the internet backbone, because basically you are doubling the bandwidth, and everybody is getting more and more bandwidth, so you need to increase that backbone to the internet. An important thing here is normally I'm talking more in the technical side, like for example technician, all the personnel used to be more accustomed to be TDM based, so T1 based and or E1 based, and now changing to an all IP culture has been a challenge at all levels of the organization basically. Obviously vendor selection is always a challenge in order to maximize what technically works, what economics you need, what partnership you have to make in order to work with the LTE deployment. Competition, as I mentioned, all operators in Puerto Rico will be LTE, I think, for the first quarter of 2013. Actually, right now we have AT&T just launched, Open Mobile just launched, Claro is doing their deployment, Sprint is doing their project as well, the modernization project, and also T-Mobile, as you may know, they have announced that they will be launching LTE within the next year, and actually they have chose Puerto Rico as one of the main markets that will be launching first. I think the biggest challenge that we have seen is the landlord towers, especially here in Puerto Rico, where we have we are launching, all the networks are being launched together. For example, Sprint is doing it, Claro is doing it, AT&T is doing it. So all the towers are becoming quite offloaded, and we have a lot of tower sharing. So basically the structural analysis on the towers are becoming quite a challenge. So in order, we need to reinforce the tower. So there have been a lot of changes in the deployment because this challenge, because you know, it's like having a full house, and you are putting more and more people in there, so it's getting very loaded, and so it's like a situation where it's the first come is first serve, and the last one that came in, it needs to pay basically the changes in the tower and the restructuring. And I think the biggest challenge in the marketing side is if customers really understand what 4G versus 3G it is. So I think basically here in Puerto Rico, although people is getting more and more educated on that side, I think the 80% of the customers, as long as you provide a good service, a quick service, a high bandwidth, and they don't have bad experience with the terminal or the dongles or the iPads or the Android phones, so they need to be clear in terms of the what really is 3G versus 4G. So as long as they have a good experience, they really don't care who is providing that, as long as you provide a good experience to them. And that's a challenge because you need to, obviously you are doing an investment in the network, so you have to monetize that network in order to make sure that the customers have the best experience. This is an example of our initially EVDO project, where we launched in 2010, and the internet traffic, basically at the left, you will see the growth in the RAN side, all the growth in terms of traffic. So as you see, it's kind of exponentially in terms of connections, in terms of users, in terms of bandwidth. And then in the right side, we have the aggregate internet traffic that goes directly to the internet, where we have like a Sunday that actually is our busiest day of the week. So you will see a lot of traffic pumping out to the internet, and that was increasing a lot. And every week it was we are getting more growth, and that is more in terms of the handsets that we are delivering to the customers, all the smartphones that actually we are changing for the normal phones to the smartphones, so the user have more and more accessibility to the bandwidth and to the usage, which actually was like the leading action that why we took the decision of going to LTE. Again, this is only 3G, so I just want to see how you can see the growth in the while we launch EVDO. So here we have the usage in a per geographically base. Basically, as I mentioned, we are 100 by 35 island, and we have the biggest concentration of user. We have it in San Juan, which is the metro area right here, and basically you will see that the green ones are less than 30 connections, simultaneous connection in the BC hour. We have the yellow ones that are more than 30, and we have the red ones, which are actually like the hotspots, where we have more than 80 connections in a BC hour. So basically, we choose these hotspots because actually all the most customers' issues were in those areas where we have the biggest concentration of people, which is in San Juan. And we base our LTE deployment based on that area because we need to take out some traffic from there and get the customer a better experience, so we can have a better bandwidth, better experience, better throughput, and low latency. So if you see that map, you will see that our next slide is our actual LTE coverage. So I will go back. So you will see basically where are the red spots. You will see that these are where we are launching LTE, again, to provide the customer a better experience and low latency and high throughput. So we can migrate, first of all, the fixed dongles and the MiFis, move it to LTE, and then moving out also the smartphones, which actually is getting our like 65% of our actual sales are going through smartphones. So that's, although we are changing the fixed dongles and the MiFis, we also have the challenge of growing out the network because to support the smartphones traffic, which is quite high, and it's increasing every month. So again, here are the hotspots. Basically, our main areas of traffic again is the San Juan area, the east, the west, the south, and the north. So basically, that was our initial deployment of LTE. Here I have a quite example of our initial test. This is an independent company, actually it's a cable company, where we test through their portal, and we were getting about 55 to 60 megs in download speeds, and we had almost to 14 to 15, almost getting to 20 megs in the uplink, and we are getting a very low latency. For example, we have 44 milliseconds, so we have seen also like 20 to 30 milliseconds, which is very nice latency for video applications like Skype, like for Netflix. So it's good. Here's another example. So you will see 50 megabits in the download, and we have like 20 in the upload. This is some in dry test, where you can see the red ones is bigger than 30 megs in download. Then it continues on the orange with 50 megs. So if you can see there's no blue, which actually is like 1 meg or more or less. So we are getting at the edge of the cell site, we are getting more than 1 meg. Actually more, actually it's almost like 5 meg at the edge of the cell site, which actually is a higher benefit next to the 3G, because in the 3G with a loaded network we were having troubles in order to increase more than 300K in the edge, and actually lower than that, and actually as long as you go lower than 300K, you will see, like for example, YouTube will become buffering, Netflix do buffering as well. So that's what was the challenge to improve the customer experience in the in the whole network, especially in the cell edge. So why we went for LTE? Basically, I think the biggest challenge is to compete with 3 tier 1 base operators, and we did it quite fast since we are a very dynamic company. We want to lower the cost per megabit delivered. The 3G network becomes so expensive. So in order to improve the customer, we were throwing a lot of capex in the network, and actually the customer were not experiencing a good enhancement in the throughput, on the latency, and all the services. So I think that was a very important. Also, 3G was not able to carry very high traffic in dense areas, like for example in the metro areas that we have. So again, we're putting a lot of capex, we were increasing a lot of carriers, but the customer at the end, in 1 month, they eat that capacity, and also with the incoming handsets with smartphones, they were getting more and more traffic, and actually we were getting to a point that it was not worth it. So again, improved customer experience, I think, is the main concern here. We want to retain all those customers that we were getting out, since as I mentioned, we are a no contract company. We are paying in advance, and we need to have a good customer experience, because they can pay you 1 month, and at the next month they can leave. So we need to provide a very good experience to the customer, so that customer keep with us and it keeps loyal with us. Again, as I mentioned, the competitive situation. So I think at the very beginning of next year, all of our competitors will be in LTE. And basically all 5 operators, I think, if not at the end of this year, I think will be the very beginning of next year, 2013. So once we got the network up and running, becomes the challenge, right? So what we're gonna do with the network? So the phase 1, as I mentioned, the phase 1 was we do like some kind of soft launch in the areas that we covered, and we begin a migration campaign where we were getting those customers that have 3G, and we were doing like a landing page in the area that we cover with 4G, and we say, hey, you are our 3G customer. If you want to migrate, please call this number, and we'll go a little bit in detail in front. But I think that the key here was to migrate 3G customer to the 4G customer in order to improve the customer experience, and to relieve a little bit the capacity of the 3G network, so we can accommodate more 3G handsets, more 3G smartphones, so the customer can have a better experience. We did a telemarketing to all 3G clients in the metropolitan area and the areas that we just launched LTE. And then in the second phase, we begin the launch. That was back in March, where we fully launched the LTE product, where we then begin to promote it in the stores and also in all the public medias. So one of the biggest advantages that we have done with the LTE is that have given the opportunity to do some alliance. For example, we have right now an alliance with McDonald's, where we are providing a hotspot. In every McDonald's, we have like around 5 to 6 Wi-Fi hotspots, where customers can, with any device that have a Wi-Fi, can connect to the network. And once they enter to the McDonald's network, they open a landing page, where they can see our products, they can see our offers and what we are launching on LTE. Also, we are doing an alliance with Sony, where actually we are marketing our MiFi hotspot, which can connect up to 5 devices, and we have like a cool picture where we have the MiFi hotspot in the middle, and then they have the PlayStation, the PS Vita, the Bio, and the TVs. So it's a quite good product in order to connect all the devices that Sony have. In the migration campaign, as I explained you, we have a landing page that was presented to the customers where we have already LTE. So every site that have LTE coverage, we put a landing page so they can, as soon as they log in, they open that this page comes. So you will see the banner here. So where basically we are congratulating the customer that they have been chosen to migrate from 3G to 4G, and we give them a very good discount in terms of the terminal. Actually, in the first month, they will be continue paying the same as 3G, but eventually, like in 6-month period, they will be like a little bit since the customer will be more pleased with the connection. So we are charging a little bit more, and you will see the plans that I have a little bit in front. So again, we did telemarketing as well. We did a lot of migration campaigns in the metropolitan areas and where we are deploying the LTE. We achieved like around 2,000 migration per month, which was a very nice in order to again alleviate a little bit the fixed customers that are the biggest users in terms of data. This migration campaign also was sent to direct mailing, so it was sent to the customer via mail. Actually, it was sent also some broadcast SMS, so we can get more customer change from 3G to the 4G in order to maximize the 4G experience and the LTE network. Here is the commercial offers. Basically, here you have, this is the plan of smartphones, where we have the 65 plan, we have the $90 plan. So basically, this is, again, this is in the middle is the smartphones, where basically you will choose whatever service you have. Basically, the basic change between these two plans is the usage in terms of the consumption per month. So in the 65, you have 2 gigabytes per month of quota, and then in the 90 we have 5 gigabytes. Also, there's a difference between the roaming in the US, where in the 65 to 250 megabytes, and in the 90 we have 500 megabytes. So in the dongles and MiFi offers, we have 5 gigabytes for $40. We have 10 gigabytes for $60. Then we have 20 gigabytes for $80. And then if you consume that amount of capacity, you can buy additional top-up, what we call top-up for, you can buy 1 gig for $10, 3 gig additional for $25, and 5 gigs for additional $35. And what we have seen, as I told you, our average of usage has been like between 6 and 7 gigabytes as an average. So most of the customers are getting our 10 gigabytes, which is $60. And then we just launched a new one, which is for 3 gigabytes for $30. So you will see it here. Actually, we are doing a campaign right now where we are teasing people to use more the network, and we are providing for 6 months, we are providing double the quota. So in the 3, we have now 6 gigabytes for 6 months for $30. In the 5, double to 10, 10 to 20, and 20 to 40. And actually, we are planning to deliver some 40 gigs plans, because people is using it a lot, and they're using a lot in terms of especially with video on demand like Netflix. It's being used like almost a TV, and it's being used a lot in terms of quota. Right now we have basically three fixed models. We have the Novatel dongle, USB dongle, which is the first one. We have the Novatel MiFi, which is you can use up to 5 connections, and also we have the Franklin Wireless, which actually can hold up to 5 connections as well. So this is Wi-Fi. And then in the handsets, we just launched the Pantech Breakout, which is the one on the left. And the first that we launched was the HTC Cobalt, which is have taken a lot of acceptance within the customers. And I think the key here to migrate the handset to LTE is the one that will get benefit both the network and the users, because they are getting better experience, and for us, we liberate a lot of capacity in terms of the signaling, in terms of bandwidth, and in terms especially on mobility, because today that's everybody can do what they do in the laptops or PCs. They can do it in a phone, so it's basically their heart basically. So people prefer to, here in Puerto Rico, sometimes they prefer to have a phone instead of having a car or something like that. So it's becoming, instead of a necessity, it's becoming it's a necessity instead of a luxury. So basically it's very important. This is what I explained in terms of the McDonald's Alliance. This is one of the banners that we are putting in the McDonald's, also in the billboards, where in the left we have the maximum flavor, and then in the right we have the maximum velocity. So it's a very good alliance with McDonald's, which provide us a very good branding. It let a customer test our experience, and also let us a good opportunity for customer to see our offering in terms of bandwidth, in terms of experience of the customer, so they can test it, and then they can go directly to a store, or they can call telemarketing through the same landing page. Actually, that's all in my presentation. Cynthia, your next slide.
Thank you, Luis. In fact, Amanda, can you want to take this?
Sure. I'm just going to go through just a few brief things that we're doing for the upcoming 4G Latin America conference that's being held in Bogota, Colombia this November 14th to 15th. Obviously, the best thing to do is definitely check out the event website at www.4glatinamerica.com. The site is in both English and Spanish, but we are doing some really exciting things at this particular program, in which we are going to really take an all-encompassing look at everything that is being faced within Latin America and the Caribbean with the transition and migration to 4G. Looking into everything from the regulatory side of things, looking into very deeply into the carriers, all the financial things that go into the infrastructure, and really just making sure that we're covering everything that's involved for organizations to make that migration. One of the things that we're also doing that's a little bit different from, I guess, the standard conference that is out there is really trying to highlight and emphasize the opportunity for organizations to do a lot of networking, to really find out best practices of what is working, what's not working throughout the region, but not only throughout the region, but also throughout the globe. We've got speakers coming in from all across the world, from Asia, looking at from North America. European companies are getting involved with the event, really to make sure that we can provide everybody, best cases of what's worked, what hasn't worked, and allow everybody the opportunity, the chance to really talk and find out good connections to make within this space. So not only are we hosting obviously the educational aspect through the various conference sessions and panel discussions and keynote presentations, but we're doing a lot within the networking aspect. All of our sponsors are actually going to have exhibit spaces around the perimeter of the room that we're holding all of the networking opportunities in, which allows for the opportunity for all the operators and carriers to find out about new technologies, systems, infrastructure, and different solutions that could work for them, but also allows for all of our sponsoring companies the opportunity to really make sure that connections are being made and conversations are being had, and it's not being set up in a trade show type of manner, but it's really in an information gathering and sharing type of platform. So that's just a quick overview and nutshell version of what we're doing at the 4G Latin America Conference in Bogota, Colombia this November 14th and 15th. And if anyone has any further questions about the event, I'd be more than happy to speak with you on a separate basis, go through in more detail everything that we're doing for that particular program.
Thanks, Amanda. Appreciate it. And thanks, of course, Luis, for your very insightful presentation. We're going to take a few minutes for answering some questions. We already passed the hour. Apologize. We took a little longer than we normally do, but I think it's worth, taking advantage of the presence of specialists here to ask some of the questions from the audience. So, our first question to you, Luis, is: do you see any marked difference of usage between the 3G subscribers versus the LTE ones?
In terms of coverage or usage?
Usage.
Usage, yeah, definitely is like almost a double. So normally in 3G we have seen like in average like 3 gigabytes in an average customer, and now we are seeing 6 gigabytes, and I think it will become getting higher. So we are planning to have almost like 8 to 9 gigabytes as an average. So it's as long as people is getting using more and more in terms of applications, yeah, it's getting higher. So but right now we have seen double basically.
Okay, great. And then let's move on to another question also for you, Luis, which is, do you see any opportunity to compete in the fixed broadband access market in Puerto Rico with the LTE offering?
Definitely. That was one of our target market. Actually, we have a lot of DSL here in Puerto Rico, which actually the worst issue is that the actual plant that actually is handled by the incumbent that is Claro. They don't have a very good plan of copper outside, and definitely it's not a good customer experience for neither for the upload, neither for the download. So we are trying to target that market, and actually we're making it mobile, because especially in the center of the island where there's no penetration, there's no DSL, there's still a lot of market with DSL, with dial-ups. So we are trying to target that market, and actually you will see it with the plan that we just launched of $30 for 3 gig. I think it's very worth it, and again, it's mobile, and you are getting, as you see, we're getting throughput of 12 to 15 megs in average. So I think it's a very value for the customer, especially in which is mobile, right? So you can get it wherever you want. But definitely, yeah, it's one of our main targets, especially not in the metropolitan area, but more in the more rural areas where the penetration of DSL and high bandwidth technologies is not there yet.
Okay, that's interesting insights. Did you want to add something, Cynthia, for a final word here?
No, unless somebody has any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer. I would like just to comment that something that I didn't mention in my presentation is that from what we've seen of operators that have commercially launched LTE in Latin America, for example, Open Mobile, UNE Telecomunicaciones in Colombia, we're seeing a very high ARPU for LTE. Well, compared to traditional mobile services, we're seeing an ARPU around $40, $45, $60, just like as Omar presented in his slide. So this is actually the challenge that operators are facing. To what we see is that an ARPU of $45 will be the minimum to justify investment. So this is something that I wanted to add to what we presented.
Okay. All right. With that, we will conclude this webinar. I want to thank our panelists today for their very insightful presentations. I would like to thank the audience for participating and providing us with great questions. And of course, our partners who helped us promote this event. This is the end of this webinar. It has been recorded. It will be available in the next 2 business days, as well as the slide deck. Thank you very much, everyone.
Good day.
Thank you.